I saw one person say they weren't gonna be here.
Was, I don't think Daniel
Yeah, no problem.
was gonna make it, or he didn't respond.
You're gonna be small.
Look, yeah, don't touch your letter. I'm just crawling under the table.
Going, please don't hit your head.
Kim, were any of the others gonna be here, you know?
Jan did say that, did reply that he was gonna be here tonight, so
He's got 1 minute.
he's got 1 minute. We do have, so there's 5 on the board, so we do have
We still have one.
a quorum without him.
Yeah. That's nice.
Oh, thank you.
Oops.
Was anybody from Young Sign gonna be here this evening?
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, and points.
Okay.
Is that it? Thank you.
There he is.
Okay. I was just calling you.
Hello, sir.
I apologize for being a minute late to be on
Oh.
there.
I just put it in the book.
If you just Google it, it should have. That'll work on here.
You ready? Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead and call to order this Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. We do have a quorum today. All board members are present with the exception of Dan Bowling. So we do have a quorum. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Yes. Are there any changes or corrections that anyone feels need to be made?
I don't feel so.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Seconded?
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll abstain since I wasn't here for the meeting, so it is, the minutes are approved. We don't have any old business, correct? So new business. Is variance request 2025-13 regarding 2101 10th Avenue. There's a request for 3 variances of Section 8 of the Adoptive Development Regulations. Is there a staff report?
Yes. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Okay, so this one's a little different. There's actually going to be 3 variances that you guys are going to vote on. So this is going to be 3 variances from Section 8 of the Development Regulations. So the first variance is to allow a freestanding sign with a sign area that exceeds the maximum allowable sign area. The second one is to allow an electronic sign, or EMC to be located adjacent to residential property. And then the third variance is a variance to allow the EMC adjacent to residential property, if it's approved. An additional variance is needed to allow the EMC portion of the freestanding sign to exceed the maximum allowable size for EMC. If the variance to allow the EMC adjacent to residential property is denied, then you won't need to vote on the variance, the third variance. So, staff report is, the applicant, which is Young Sign Company, they're representing Trinity Lutheran Church, is applying for a variance from the above noted sections to allow the installation of a 42.75 square foot freestanding sign with a 26 square foot EMC located adjacent to residential property. The applicable development regulation for the site allows for a maximum freestanding sign of 32 square feet, of which 25% of that, or 8 square feet, may be an EMC. Additionally, the development regulations prohibit any EMC adjacent to residentially zoned areas. Just of note, the church currently has an existing non-conforming freestanding sign of 40 square feet, and no portion of that sign is an EMC. So the church located at 2101 10th Avenue is zoned R16, which is high-density, single-family residential district. Public and semi-public facilities, such as churches, are allowed signage as regulated and permitted in the neighborhood business district. So section 8.08 of the development regulations states that public and semi-public facilities located in a residentially zoned district shall be allowed signage as regulated and permitted in section 810, which is signs permitted in the neighborhood business district. 810 of the development regulations states that freestanding signs permitted in the neighborhood business district may have 2 faces and shall not exceed 32 square feet per face. The section further states that the allowed freestanding signs may be EMC signs provided they comply with all other standards in this article addressing lighting, safety, and electronic changeable messages. Section 813 of the development regulations states that when allowed by any other section of the sign code, an EMC sign shall comply with performance standards listed in the code. So size and placement, the maximum size of an EMC shall be 25% of the allowed square footage of any monument or wall sign, or 32 square feet, whichever is less. It further states that no EMCs shall be located adjacent to residential property. It should be noted that when calculating the sign area, section 8.03 development regulation states that the entire sign area, the entire area within a single continuous rectangle enclosing all elements of the sign which form an integral part of the display, including the perimeter border. Trinity Lutheran Church is adjacent to residential property. To the west of Leavenworth High School, which is zone R19. To the north is a single-family home, zone R16. And to the east are 2 single-family homes, both zoned R16. And to the south is a single-family home and a vacant lot, also both zoned R16. Staff recommendation is that the variances requested could not fully meet all the conditions required for approval, and after the required notices were published and sent out, staff did not receive any comments. So we think that the easiest, or should we let them talk first and then go over?
Yeah, if you guys have any discussion, or if you want to open the public hearing portion before you vote on the individual.
I just want to
But
clarify
should
one
we
thing.
go over this first, or do you want the public hearing?
You can if you want. I would say go over it now.
Want to
yeah,
go over
probably.
now? Okay.
Can I clarify one thing? I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that I understand this correctly. So for electronic sign, according to the code here, it can only be 25% of the surface area.
Of the allowable wall or monument sign.
Is there a logic behind that number?
Is there a logic behind the
Yeah,
number?
why 20, why?
Well, because EMCs, and again, when we kind of went over the different variances, EMCs are lit signs,
Right, I
change
understand what they
messages.
are, right.
Yeah, so it's just, in residential areas, you need to take into consideration the properties and the character of residential zoned areas versus commercial or industrial or office business district. Okay, so for staff comment, so for A, so the first one we're gonna go over is just The first variance, which is the overall sign size. So A is that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. So staff comments is that the public and semi-public buildings, which include churches, are permitted by right in the residential zone districts. When the sign code was developed, the need for these facilities to have larger signs was considered at that time, which is why signage for public and semi-public buildings are regulated and permitted by section 810, which are signs in the neighborhood business district, versus section 8.08, which are signs permitted in residential districts. So the existing monument sign is 14 feet from the west property line and is already highly visible from the public right-of-way. There are no site conditions such as steep slopes or obstructions that make it difficult to see the sign from the public right-of-way at the allowable size. So staff finds that there is no unique condition to the property that justifies larger overall freestanding sign area than what the development regulations allow. B, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. So again, for the overall size, is the existing sign, which does have an EMC, or excuse me, which does not have an EMC, is already 40 square feet, which is larger than the allowed sign in the neighborhood business district, which is 32 square feet. The proposed modifications would increase overall size by 2 square feet, so go from 40 to 42 square feet. And as far as staff is aware, there are no issues from surrounding properties regarding the existing non-electronic signs, so staff finds it unlikely that the small increase of 2 square feet would have a significant impact to surrounding property owners. However, the addition of an EMC, thank you, an EMC could have an impact. C, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which a variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner representing the application. So again, for the overall size, staff finds that the strict application of the development regulations will not constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner, as the regulations have taken into account the need for larger signs for churches located in residential districts by having less restrictive regulations, but at the same time being compatible in the residential district that they're located in. There is an existing non-conforming sign that is in decent condition and can be used for many years to come. Staff does not find that denying the size increase would create a hardship for the property owner. D, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. And for the overall size, the proposed modifications, again, is only increased by 2 square feet, and staff finds it unlikely that the small increase would cause a significant impact. And E, that the grant of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of development regulations. The existing monument sign is highly visible by the public right-of-way. There are no site conditions that make it difficult to see the sign from the public right-of-way at the allowable size. Staff finds the development regulations to have taken into account the need for larger signs for churches located in residential districts by having less restrictive regulations, and that granting the variance, increase in overall size, will be opposed to the general spirit and intent of development regulations. And then for variance, for the second variance, which is talking about the EMC being adjacent to residential property. So again, A, staff comments is that, I need to read this over so they know what probably. Okay, so A is about that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question, is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner. So staff comments is the church is surrounded by residential properties to the north, east, and south. The requested sign would be located on the west along 10th Avenue. While 3 of the properties are currently owned by the church, they may not be owned by the church at some point in the future. Development regulations prohibit EMCs next to residential properties regardless of ownership. Staff finds that there is no unique condition of the property that makes an EMC necessary at this location. B, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. With the EMC being located on the west side of the property, the building would act as a buffer between the sign and the residential zone properties to the east. They are not likely to be adversely impacted. Additionally, the property to the west on the opposite side of 10th Avenue is a school, which again, not likely to be negatively impacted by an AMC. And then the property to the north is single-family home. Although it's on the opposite side of Thornton Street, the home does have windows that directly face the proposed EMC. This could have a negative impact on visual distraction and glare into the home. C, that the strict application of provisions of development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. The development regulations, staff statement, is that development regulations considers the needs of public and semi-public facilities and made the code less restrictive. Therefore, staff does not believe that the strict application of development regulations will constitute unnecessary hardship. D, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff's comments. EMCs in residential areas can negatively impact the neighborhood through light pollution, visual clutter, and potential distractions of drivers. EMCs located near intersections or pedestrian crossings are a particular concern. With the high school to the west, there is a pedestrian crossing at this intersection and a lot of young, unexperienced drivers that attend the high school. Staff finds that an EMC adjacent to residential property could adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. E, that the granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. Staff's comments. Staff finds that by having less restrictive regulations for churches located in residential districts, the sign code provides a means to display their message while being compatible with the residential district that they are located in. Staff does believe that the grant of the variance desired will be opposed to the general spirit and intent of development regulations. And then the last variance, which is for the size of the EMC. So start with A, that the variance requested arises from such condition, which is unique to the property, and it's not normally found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or action of the property owner. So staff comments. The proposed EMC would be more than 3 times, excuse me, would be more than 3 times allowable size, and again, staff finds that there are no site conditions that make it difficult to see from the public right-of-way at the allowable size. Sign allowances, especially for EMCs, are intentionally more limited with residential neighborhoods to preserve the residential character of the neighborhood. Staff finds that there is no unique condition of the property that justifies a larger EMC area than the development regulations allow, and that the variance requested is created by the actions of the property owner or applicant. B, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. Staff's comments. An EMC that is over 3 times the maximum allowable size in a residential zone district could adversely affect the rights of adjacent residential property owners or residents, particularly on the existing single-family home to the north. Potential impacts include increased lighting glare into residential areas and a visual scale that is out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. C, that the strict application of the provisions of development regulations from which a variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. Staff comments. EMCs can be ordered in various sizes. The property owner has the option to make the EMC the smaller of the 2 signs and then the ID sign the larger of the 2. Therefore, staff finds that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations will not constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. D, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff comments. An EMC that is 26 square feet versus allowable 8 square feet will have more light pollution, glare, visual clutter in the neighborhood, and be a greater distraction for drivers, especially for the students attending the high school. That could potentially lead to accidents. Staff finds that An EMC that is over 3 times the maximum allowable size in a residential district could adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. And then the last one, E, that the grant of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the regulations. Staff comments? Excuse me, the purpose of the sign code is to create the framework for a comprehensive and balanced system of regulations of signs to facilitate easy and pleasant communication between people and preserving and improving the quality of the city's environment. One way this is accomplished is by reducing distraction of motor vehicle operation by signage that can be harmful to traffic and pedestrian safety. By having less restrictive regulations for churches located in residential districts, the sign code provides a means to display the message while being compatible in the residential district they're located in. Again, EMCs can be ordered in various sizes, and and there are no extenuating circumstances impairing the visibility of the sign and warranting an EMC of this magnitude in a residential area. Therefore, staff finds that the grant of the variance for, that should be 26 square feet, not 26 feet, or a 26 square foot EMC is in opposition to the general spirit and intent of the regulations. And if you have any questions, staff's here to answer, and the applicant from Youngstown Company, Ann Hoynes, is here as well.
Are there any questions for the staff on the staff report?
Did we get any feedback from the house directly across, was it Truman? Homeowners Truman,
You mean Thornton Street?
on Thornton? Yes,
The
ma'am.
staff did not receive any comments after publication and notices were mailed.
But somebody's here representing.
I believe,
Yes, Mr. Truman is present.
I am here, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll have a moment for public comment. We're just going with questions, so your
Yeah, that's-
question
thank
was
you.
answered.
Yeah, Mr. Truman's here.
Any other questions?
You said there's a possibility that there's a smaller sign available?
there are
Is this
various
what-
sizes EMCs, yes.
Okay. Is there one in
So
stock in the
there-
shop or?
The EMC has not been ordered yet.
Okay.
When you looked at other sizes, did you consider the effectiveness of those sizes to be able to convey a message? I mean, can they be seen at the distance that needs to be?
Can you say that again? Are you asking
Yeah,
us?
so you said that there's various sizes,
Mhm.
smaller ones. Did you consider their effectiveness in communicating? I mean, how far away can they be seen? So if I'm driving up the street there, given the size that you seem to be recommending, is it going to be effective in communicating whatever the message is the church wants to convey with its
I mean,
signage?
I personally believe so, yes. So this is what they're proposing here. So when I'm talking about 2 different signs, this sign here, this right here, is the ID sign. So that's gonna be a lit ID sign. And then this sign here is gonna be the EMC.
And so that's going to be away the farthest from the street.
This will be closest to the street.
Which one?
This one, I believe. Ann, is that correct?
That's the way that we propose doing it. If there's an issue with that, we could probably change it to the opposite, but we thought EMC.
So you're
closer.
looking, okay, so you're looking from the north.
Yes. I have both. I think, Michelle, I have sent both an A and a B.
Yep.
Yeah. The logo, the black part above the Trinity.
And we can come up to the,
I was gonna say.
Do you want, is it okay for me to come up now?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, because I can certainly address a couple of the things that you're asking about as well.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the public portion where we would
We should
ask,
do it
where we would
officially.
ask the applicant to go ahead and speak.
Sure.
And this won't cut into any time you'd otherwise be entitled to, so.
Okay,
go.
thank you. My name is Ann Hoynes. I'm from Young Sign Company, and I'm representing, of course, Trinity Lutheran Church. The idea behind this sign was they wanted an EMC that they felt would be large enough that they could promote blood drives, Vacation Bible School, many events. They were talking about so many things that they do in there. They have lots of different things throughout the course of the year that they want to promote. Some of them are very community-minded, some of them are very much religious and based on trying to get, parishioners to the church and visitors to the church. So they wanted a sign that would be more recognizable. This is something they've considered for about 3 years. They've approached me. With that 25%, as you mentioned, that seems like a really small. 8 square foot for an electronic message center is really little.
So would the 25% apply to that portion where you labeled it
Yes,
electronics?
we're not at 25%, we're larger than that,
No,
which
no,
is,
no, I mean, so if we were to apply the 25, is it to the whole thing, or is it just to the left portion?
it's supposed to be 25% of the 32 square feet, so that would be 8 square feet. So what I did here, just so you can kind of see, this is what we're proposing, and this is if we do the smallest size that was recommended, which, by the way, is 11.11 square feet, which is still requiring a variance because it's over 8 square feet. So even that would have needed a variance, and then this would be a rectangular sign. It doesn't give you a lot of flexibility of doing anything that looks creative and fun, professional, all of those things that make it more beautiful to look at.
Do you have copies of that you can provide us?
I have two, but I'd be glad to get that to you. But what I'd like to do is go, when you're driving by, it's more like looking at it here to know what can you
Can
see.
we try to have you, when you're speaking at the microphone, just so
Sure.
we can make sure we
I'll
can
let you
show
look at it,
and
so.
recording?
But I did that at the end of today because I was looking at the different sizes that were proposed, and I'm like, well, even that would require variance. It also very much limits me. What we're doing is we have an existing base with the columns. The columns are a little over 10 foot apart. The existing sign that's there now is all illuminated, so the 4 foot by 10 foot, it's actually 121 is what it actually is. But that whole sign is illuminated now already. And I don't know why or when it would have become non-conforming, but they've had that sign a very long time. I've never thought it looked very big just because there's a lot of beautiful trees around and different things like that. They are going to have to trim up bushes, and they know all that's got to be done, but they're not having to remove any of the trees. Isn't that what we decided? Which was quite fascinating, that the trees are going to be able to stay, so that's a nice thing too. We do have people here that are representing the neighborhood, so we'll let them speak when they're ready. There's definitely some things in the code that are very conflicting. And I think that's the part that concerns me. And I know that we're not here to talk about the code, but it certainly is something we need to realize is going on in the code to make you question, where did the 25% come from? And why does it say in the EMC part in 8:13, F says that no EMC shall be located adjacent to residential property, but 2 lines later in H, it says, no EMC shall be located closer than 100 foot to any existing residence, in the exact same section. Very conflicting. So there are some things that, in my mind, I realize that I am asking for a larger electronic message center in comparison to what is supposedly allowed, 32 square feet. And we're going for a larger overall total square footage of the signs in general, just because we're utilizing an existing base. We've had a 4 foot by 10 foot there all along, and we didn't want to just do an electronic message center, which they said, well, you can do a 32 square foot electronic message center, but then you couldn't have an ID sign. So I'm kind of like, well, we want our name on the church, right? So we need to be able to identify the church. So that's where we came up with this, put the logo above. The logo's going to be a channel letter attached, so it's going to give it a little bit more interest and look a lot better. The black part up there is not lit. So again, I was doing that to try to get anything that was illuminated to closer to that 32 square feet. And I understand that you have to count every little bit of the framework and everything else.
The Trinity and the colored blocks will be lit.
Yes, the white section that says Trinity Lutheran Church, that white section is illuminated. The logo part up above is illuminated. The blue on there is not. That's just not going to be lit. It's just visible during the day. And then, of course, the electronic message center. So it's a little, I was trying to get as close to 32 square foot as I could, knowing that that was probably the preferred look. But we have to count every little bit of it, so that's where we get over. But of course, the existing sign that's there now, even though it's 4 foot by 10 foot one, it also has a top above it too, which isn't counted in the 4 by 10 size. So it's really over the 40 square foot easily, so it's probably over 42 square foot now.
So this is 42 3/4 feet?
Yes,
Oh, square feet?
square feet, if you count every bit of it that's on there, yes.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's what we have to do.
Yes, exactly. So counting all of the, the black framework and everything like that, yes,
Okay.
sure.
And do you agree then with Ms. Berigari as far as the purpose of the EMC? What she said in the staff report?
What did you say the purpose was, Michelle?
For the message,
Yes.
to allow the messages of the church, but to also be compatible in the zoning district that it's located in.
Well,
I would say that it's unusual because we have Leavenworth High School across the street. And I think that is, a lot less of a residential area than maybe some of the other churches. But again, they have a huge property. They are over that whole street, you've got a full block basically all the way around that they own the property. So it's again, a little bit of an unusual situation than a small church and a residential where there's houses all along, so.
well, I apologize, I shouldn't have asked you, I should have asked somebody from a representative of
From the church, what they,
Right. But I presume that since nobody spoke up, that she's speaking for you right now.
And I'm more than willing to speak as well, Mr. Horvath.
Okay, and then the other thing is, I was just curious, that picture or that representation of the sign and the EMC, I'll double check my
yes, correct.
my acronym there. But
That is
anyway,
correct.
How large, there were two sizes of EMC listed here, how large is this one? I presume it's one of those two sizes that was listed.
The
Well,
EMC.
should you be looking
Those are the
at?
25%. I think Michelle was trying to say, there's smaller signs available that could be used at 11.3, and I don't remember the other number.
16.34.
But I believe what we have posted here is 22
It's, I can't see it from the angle I'm at, so sorry, but I can't see that either, because there's,
So this sign cabinet here for the EMC is 50 inches by 75 inches. That's the size of the EMC on
That's
this
the
one.
cabinet.
Yeah.
the entire cabinet.
yeah, the entire cabinet.
Well, just for the EMC. And then some options that were available is,
Okay.
Yeah, 50 by 75.
Shame on me for so obvious there. That
The
was
EMC total is 26.04 square feet, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Ron Robick from Trinity Lutheran Church.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, I have no further questions at this time.
Can staff say something related to the sections of code that were brought up? So specifically, there are two sections that were mentioned as contradictory, which is one that states no EMCs next to residential zone property. And then the second one is really a little bit different because it says no EMCs within, I think, is it 100 feet of a residential
use.
home. So you can have a residential home, for example, in a mixed-use district or the central business district or something like that. And that's where that 100 feet separation would apply. And then the other one is the actual zoning district that it's adjacent to.
So to the north of that sign, or that proposed sign, is that about, or approximately 100 feet to that house on the corner?
I believe it's further than 100 feet.
It's further,
122
yeah.
square feet, so that issue does not need a variance.
Yeah, the 100, when we looked at it, it was getting close to the end of the street, but it was not on their property.
Okay.
So the
Can you go
100,
back to that image?
Which one?
Go back to that image you just had up. Is that sign right there in the center, is that the one that's, you're replacing that?
yes,
Yep.
that sign right there.
Right, and then that house right there in the background, is that, so does that exceed 100 feet?
It does, sir, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that property owner here is here
Is
this
here
evening
as well.
to speak with you
Okay.
when you're ready.
Okay, so you're gonna
Mr.
use the
Truman.
same width, same height,
We're
Or
using
maybe
the
just a little-
existing brick framing, so
right?
we don't have that expense in putting in the new sign.
In order to keep up with the minutes, we're gonna have to have one person speak at a time, or it's gonna be really
Yeah, I can-
hectic
yeah.
for her trying to do the minutes.
Yes, they want to keep the existing base, the existing columns,
All right.
take out the existing sign, and then put this new sign in its place.
Does the city consider that triangle that's on, above the sign to be a part of that sign?
In any portion of the sign,
Was that, is that included in your,
no.
No,
saying what the
No,
current
we
sign
didn't.
is?
We
So the
didn't.
current sign is actually larger
correct,
than what's listed on our papers, right?
yes.
The framing of it, yeah.
And it's probably, that square feet wise is larger than 42 square feet, when you add the triangle on top. Probably.
It's probably really close to being larger.
Well, have you done the exact math, Ann?
I have not done
Okay.
the exact
All right. I didn't
math,
wanna-
Ron, sorry.
That's all right. I didn't,
But I'm like, yeah, I guess if we're going to count everything, the sign, I do know the cabinet.
Back on then?
Pardon me? No, it will not go back on because we've got the cool channel letter logo. That's going to be on there to give it a little bit more of a decorative look, yes.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to just address, Ann, that you had said that, staff said that 32 square foot EMC would be allowed here. But staff has never said, a 32 square foot EMC
Someone had
is
told me
allowed
that
in industrial
originally.
and commercial. I mean,
I'm
that's-
sorry, I didn't catch.
32 square foot EMC, that's the maximum size you can have in industrial zoning or commercial zoning.
But yet, in the code, it also says that if it was a wall sign, it could be 96 square feet. So that's
But for the-
interesting.
But for the EMC, it says it can be 25% of the allowable square footage of any monument or wall sign, which is where the 96 would come in. Or
Correct.
32 square feet, whichever is less.
Somewhere along the line, I know someone said, well, it could just be just the EMC with no ID sign, and I'm sorry, I don't know who told me that, but I'm sure of that. But that isn't what I don't think that's what the church wanted. They wanted to be able to have their name on the sign as well.
Sure.
So,
Is the EMC sign just intended to show letters? Can you do graphics?
yes, you can certainly do
Could it be
graphics.
video?
As most, the city has one out at Stubby Park. They're being used everywhere anymore, and they do promote a lot of nice things. And you can put images on it, such as flags waving, or whatever it is that you want to do. You can put a flag on, you can put pretty much anything like that on there.
So the one in Stubby Park would qualify as, that's what that is?
Yes, and
And
any
how
of
big's
them.
that one?
I honestly don't know.
I'm just trying to get an idea in my head, how big.
It's larger than what we're proposing on this one. Or it's a different proportion, so it's a little bit hard to know. So that's the difference there too, so.
Do you happen to know what the distance is from that one to the south where Family Eye Care Center has a?
They used to, they haven't been using that one. That one's very old and they stopped using it quite a long time ago. But that thing's probably in the 20-year range, so it's not being used anymore. They put in a static sign there instead.
And I'm sorry, you did say the smaller of the two signs was 11 square feet.
Oh, yes, that one there was, I based it on the size that Michelle had stated that they could go with a smaller sign, and they mentioned a size, so that's what I did that one to.
this
So
is
it's
11
11.11 or something like that, yes. And I did that so that I could look at a comparison between what you could read on an electronic message center with that size versus what we were hoping to get, proposing to do.
Everything's running away.
If I understood correctly, in the portion of the report that we were given, in the part that you all wrote, addressing the intensity of the light coming off of this.
Daktronic sign, which is what this is a manufacturer that's been around for years and
Right.
years and years. They're everywhere.
Right.
They totally are dimmable. They can be controlled. They can be shut off if it's requested. There's so many things that you can do. It doesn't need to be crazy bright or anything like that because it's very, very controllable.
I noticed the church has said that they were going to do 10 o'clock shut off.
But there's nothing in the regulations that actually say you need to do that. But that was one of the things that we discussed, that
It was a voluntary.
it would be a voluntary, would that be a voluntary thing? In my mind, the code needs to be looked at and revised. And I know that that's not your job here tonight. It's only to look at what we're asking for tonight. But the code absolutely has some things that need to be changed. And I agree that I don't know where the 25% came from. I don't know where some of the restrictions on sizes came from, but I do know that once we look at some of those things and maybe there's some revisions that need to be decided upon, maybe an idea would be in a residential area, even if it is a public use facility such as a church, a hospital, a school, a community center, anything like that, that perhaps a restriction on, okay, it needs to be shut off at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or something along that line, and then turn back on at 6:30 or whatever it is in the morning, so that it's not running through the night. Again, to just help control helping neighbors out in a residential. Again, I know that's not anything you're deciding tonight, but it's just something that we discussed with the church. Would you consider doing that? And they're like, well, yes, if that would make a difference to being able to get a variance, that would be fine. So just throwing that out there too.
Do you happen to know what kind of electronic sign is just across the street at the high school?
At the high school?
At the high school, do they have any?
They don't have one.
They don't have any electronic?
No, they had asked about it again. I think they had asked about it a long time ago, and then maybe budget wasn't there. But again, some of the restrictions were making it difficult to get one. I know we've been asked by several churches around town, and it's like, well, can only be this big, and none of them want to go through the variance process. So,
Ron, can I ask that we move forward, maybe?
Sure. Any further questions for
I don't have any.
Hoynes?
Not for,
All right. Is there anyone else that is here that would like to speak on behalf of the project? We are going to limit additional speakers to 3 minutes if they wish to speak. Sir, the man who raised his hand in the back, if you'd come forward and state your name, please.
Tom Lahan, and I own the property at 917 Marion, the house immediate to the south of the church property. And from my property, you can barely even see the sign. So over the last 30 years, I haven't had any issue, and I don't see an issue coming with the larger verbiage sign.
Okay. Any questions?
So you would have no objection to,
None at all.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
So all my knees are stiff. I think
What, state your name, please.
Dennis Truman.
And Mr. Truman, where do you live?
I live at 922 Thornton. If it's the house to the north, you want to pull that up, that'd be great. I just wanted to point something out about your picture. As soon as you pull it
Could
up.
you put the picture of the sign that you had up there?
Yeah, show my house, because I just wanted to point
The
something.
I just wanna see the
Google
house.
image.
No.
Well,
No, not
No,
my
that
house,
one right
that's
there.
perfect. You see, where that square is right there? That tree's not there anymore, so that's a very old picture, just to let you know. That bush next to the sign covers the sign, I can't even see the sign from my house. So, them putting up a bigger sign is not gonna bother me. As far as the quality, interfering with my quality of life, your crosswalk, talking post interferes more with my quality of life than any sign they're gonna put up there, because at 10 o'clock at night, when my grandchildren are sleeping in the bedroom, all they hear is, "Don't walk, please wait," blah, blah, blah. At 3 o'clock in the morning, they wake up and they're freaking out because there's someone talking, and it ain't grandpa. So, maybe we could turn that off, talking at 10 o'clock at night, that'd be great. But as far as the sign goes, I don't see a problem. As far as being a distraction to teenagers, I've lived there since 2014. That's not the problem the teenagers has, is a sign on the side of the road. Most of them are too busy to look up from their cell phones to walk across the street without almost getting hit by a car, because they don't pay attention to your crosswalk signs at all. And so I don't have enough fingers and toes to tell how many times a kid almost got hit out there. So that sign's not gonna be any more problem to them than their cell phones are now, so.
Any questions for Mr. Truman? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else to speak on behalf of this application?
My name's Ron Romig. I'm a 40-year member plus at Trinity Lutheran Church, and I kind of started this 2 or 3 years ago, as Ann said. The reason we're here tonight is the code was going to be revised, and this is previous administrations. There's been turnover within the city staff. So we basically held off, went on the basis of, okay, if it gets better, we'll wait. And it's never come. And nothing against Kim or Michelle or Sarah, they've been good to work with. But I guess enough is enough. We just want to try and do something good for this community, and that's what we've been doing for 70 years at Trinity Lutheran Church. As a matter of fact, probably the only property that's been there longer is Mr. Truman in the White House, which probably was a farmhouse over 100 years ago.
1850s when it was built.
Thank you. In that same location, before the high school, before Trinity Lutheran, before anything else, okay? And so it's frustrating, but what we want to do is work within the system. And that's why we're appearing before you tonight, is to say, we want to invest in the city, we want to invest in people, we want to invest in our church, and we want to do what we've been doing for 70 years, and that is be a good community neighbor. The high school actually came after Trinity's built a year later. So we do own the entire block. That has been a willful, intentional act that we have done. As each one of those houses, there have been 3 different houses on that block that we bought from the original owners to acquire the block. Once we acquired the block, then we petitioned the city and we received a vacating, we'll use that number. That's better than vacation. Vacating the alleyway, so we control the entire city block. To the comment about us selling it and making it worse for potential future owners, I don't ever see that happening. This was a goal of our church as long as I've been there, to acquire the city block. So to what we're going to do with it, I know that was a question that was asked, and I don't feel it's really been answered, so I'd like to address that. Basically, what we intend to do with the Message Center is communicate. We want to communicate the Word of God as a church. We want to communicate uplifting words to help people. I think we can all use that in this world today. We're going to use it to promote things we do. As Ann mentioned, the blood drive, that's one of the things we do on a quarterly basis. We have a food and clothing shelter that we have now put within that city block, which is called Trinity House. In that property, we have available and make available to anyone who comes in the door food and clothing, and it is used by more than, I'll use a lower number. We just hit 200, but we regularly have 150 people that come to that each month. In addition to that, we support that not only with our people who volunteer in there to help out these folks, but in addition to that, we support it with our budget line. 10% of our revenue that we generate, roughly, goes to buy food to give out in this community. We believe in this community. We've been here for a long time. Members with me, just to take a second, Mark Denny is our president. He is a founding grandson of the man that started Trinity Lutheran Church, John F. Denny Sr., in his plumbing shop in 1955. To his left, Pastor Damian Snyder, who is our senior pastor, has been with us for 23 years now. And so we're appealing to you as the Board of Zoning Appeals to let us move forward. We have the entire funding to do this. It's paid for. We don't have to raise any money. And we believe it would be an asset to the community. I guess I forgot one other thing. You have a letter from the school district. I think that's very critical because it is a very complimentary neighbor to us. We make our church property available to them. They use it to, bring folks over if they need to. The parking lot regularly after school. Parents park in our parking lot. I would say upwards of 20 to 30. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
You're about right.
20 or 30 cars that wait in our parking lot after school to pick up their kids. So we are a very visible and we are an intentional neighbor to the folks that live there. And that's why, thankfully to Mr. Lahan and Mrs. Lahan for being here, I reached out to them. Also to Mr. Truman, we brought the letter of support from the school district. We just request your consideration and hopefully your approval for our variance request. Thank you very much.
Wait, a question.
I'm sorry, sir.
If I understand the staff report correctly, they're suggesting that you would not be adversely affected should we deny the appeal. What do you have to say about that? One, am I correct?
That is correct. We don't find that they have any adverse effect from keeping the same size sign or
Okay.
having a smaller electronic sign.
To which you say?
To which I say, possibly true, but we can do so much more if we have the electronic message center. Correct. It is functioning quite nicely. We redid it, I can't remember how many years ago, to put this sign up. We created a new logo and redid the sign. But I would say maybe we wouldn't be adversely affected. I think our town and our community would be adversely affected because we can put things out for emergencies, we can put things out for community events, we can put things out for uplifting messages. So that would be my answer, Mr. Davis.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Thank you.
I'm Reverend Dr. Damian Snyder. I'm the senior pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church. And I'm simply asking you to approve this variance so that we can continue to share the gospel in as my associate pastor said, new and innovative ways. that we can get that message out to the folks. And quite honestly, just down the road, and I'm sure it's a different zoning, I'm no expert on these things, there is an electronic message sign where they can advertise for the liquor store and the gas station and things like that. And I'm simply asking for the same thing for our church, to be able to make our message known in that particular area there as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mark Denny. I currently serve as the president of Trinity Lutheran Church. First of all, I'd just like to thank you all. I know I served 20 years on the Leavenworth County Planning and Zoning Commission, and I know you have a thankless job, and it's a very hard job. And if I'm looking at staff's report from the golden factors, I believe is what they're called, you got to deny it. I mean, if you're just looking at the golden factors, because we can't hit all those, and I think you have to hit all of them, correct? So what I'm asking for, what we're asking for, is to look at the spirit of the law, which all of the speakers here basically have talked about. I mean, the sign that we're replacing, it's not going to be a bigger sign per se. I would argue most people aren't going to even really notice that the sign is any bigger or any smaller than what's currently there. And I would ask too, whether you approve or deny this, that again, I know it's not your job, that the city maybe take a look at the regulations and the current code, because I feel they're outdated. And to Mr. Davis's point, 25%, I mean, we're talking a 2x4 section or a 1x8 section. And one of my pet peeves, when you're driving down the street, and you see people have the yard signs out, and they're so small, you can't read them, as you're driving by at 25 or 30 miles an hour. And that, to me, creates more of a driving hazard than a sign that's more legible, because people are trying to slow down, read it, and that type of thing. So again, I just ask you to look at the spirit of what we're trying to do here, and not necessarily the letter of the law. Thank you.
Yeah, so the 5 conditions or criteria you guys do vote on, that has nothing to do with the city, that's actually state statute.
Right.
Those 5 criteria.
Yeah.
In your report, as I mentioned, you are suggesting that there's no injury to them if we say no, we don't approve their waiver, right?
There's not a hardship.
Okay, if we were to approve it, what injury is there to the community?
Well, again, you're gonna have to go according to, I mean, there's 5 different criteria.
I understand.
That staff addressed, so.
So tell me, what's the injury if we were to approve their request?
On which variance?
On any of them, on 3 variances, what's the injury to the community? You're saying that they're not injured by us saying no, but yet they have
It's not a hardship.
on them, right?
I think some of the other criteria, we have outlined what we think would be the issues and the injury to the community. For example, one of those is that it would cause glare into the residential home to the north. And yes, the current property owner does not have a problem with that, but
Right.
how long would this sign be there? Is that home ever gonna change ownership?
Okay, and
It's likely.
is that based on any investigation? I mean, has anybody gone out there and illuminated the area? Has anybody shown that in fact is gonna be the case? If they were to illuminate it, that's gonna be the negative effect? Or are you speculating that if I put in a sign there, that's gonna be the effect?
I would say, based off of our reasonable assumption, that the sign is electronic and faces directly into their windows. That's what we found to be. Now, you guys may find differently, but again, we still find that the first criteria is not met, which is that there is not an unreasonable, or there is not a hardship that constitutes the need for this sign, or for any of the 3 variances, to be honest.
Let me go ahead.
But ultimately, it's up to you all to decide if you find that
Yeah.
same or not.
I think the public comment is over, and so I'm going to close the public comment portion. And so now, is there any discussion among the board members on any of the issues raised, or before we start considering the criteria, is there anyone has any comments or would like to discuss any of the things that have testified to here?
Answered all my questions, thank you.
Everybody?
I'm good to go.
All right. So we can proceed to the consideration of the criteria. And I'm going to just start by, I will read the criteria, and we have 3 separate variances to consider, and I propose that we, for each of the requirements, that we'll consider the first and second request for variance and either agree or disagree with the statement as it applies to that request. The first requirement that we'll be either agreeing or disagreeing with, that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. And with respect to allowing a freestanding sign with a sign area that exceeds the maximum allowable sign area, if you agree with the statement, that would be in favor of the variance. So, Mr. Ramirez, do you agree or disagree?
Agree.
And we'll just work down the line here.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
With respect to the second variance request to allow an electronic message center to be located adjacent to residential property. And I guess in the discussion, if we were going to discuss anything, I know that is zoned residential property, but to me, this area of Leavenworth is a mishmash. I mean, going down 10th Street, starting up at 10th in Pennsylvania, with the restaurant, the gas station, there's a few homes, and then we get the church, then we get a few homes, then we get the eye doctor. Across we have the high school. I mean, some of these neighborhoods that have a church in the middle of a neighborhood, it just seems to me like this is a little bit different. But
Well, I think it's different, plus, this is taking advantage of a new instrument, the electronic message center and so forth, that's available for them to fulfill their mission, and the code that we're asked to consider predates that. So,
well, I do think we are limited to dealing with the questions that are answered or asked and whether they actually apply. And it's always difficult. So the question is to allow an electronic message center to be located adjacent to residential property. And the criteria was that the variance requested arises from such a condition which is unique to the property in question and not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. Mr. Ramirez?
I agree. I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
So we'll move to the second criteria, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residences. With respect to the size of maximum allowable sign area, Mr. Ramirez?
I disagree.
Would you say that one again, please?
That the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not gonna change that. I agree with that statement.
I agree.
I agree.
Agree.
And as that statement relates to allowing an electronic message center to be located adjacent to the residential property, Mr. Ramirez?
Disagree. Say it again. I disagree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
The third requirement, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. With respect to the size of the sign, Mr. Ramirez? agree.
I agree.
With respect to allowing an electronic message center to be located adjacent to the residential property.
I
Do I-
disagree. I agree.
I agree.
Agree.
The fourth requirement, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. With respect to the sign size, Mr. Ramirez?
Disagree. I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
With respect to allowing the electronic message center to be located adjacent to residential property, Mr. Ramirez?
Disagree. Agree.
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 And the fifth requirement, that granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. Mr. Ramirez, with respect to the size of the sign?
I agree. I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
With respect to the electronic message center?
I disagree. I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
So having met all 5 criteria, we'll now consider if the variance to allow the EMC adjacent to residential well, I'm sorry, that we would need to consider that.
The size of the EMC, 26.
The size of the EMC.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're considering whether to grant a variance for the larger EMC. So the first criteria, that the variance requested arises from such a condition which is unique to the property in question and not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant.
I disagree with the size of the sign, it's being smaller.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
That the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Mr. Ramirez?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
That the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. Mr. Ramirez?
Disagree.
Agree.
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 That the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare.
Disagree.
Agree.
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 That the granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. Mr. Ramirez?
Agree.
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 So the variance requests on all 3 have been approved. The question now is, are there any,
So it's number 3, granting a variance, the board may impose.
I'm sorry?
Is that what we're talking about? Number 3, in granting the variance, the board may impose.
Yes, may impose additional limitations or requirements. Is that where we could say, as far as time limitations, can we make a requirement that the sign be turned off from a certain time period to another time
Yeah,
period?
because it says, in granting a variance, the board may impose such conditions, safeguards, and restrictions upon the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to reduce or minimize any potentially injurious effect of such variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of these development regulations. So you can put any sort of conditions, safeguards.
yeah. The question, or I believe Ms. Hoynes indicated they discussed turning the sign off at 10 PM.
I guess 6 AM to 10 PM situation.
Is that-
acceptable to everyone?
What do you think?
One, it'd be acceptable, I don't understand why we need to do that, I mean, it's, the neighborhood have said that they have no objection. I don't think it's gonna cast off so much light that it's gonna disrupt anything. So, I'm not sure what we could impose that. It's not a big beacon, it's not like it's, I'd be interested, how many streetlights are in that area?
Yeah,
How many streetlights are casting off light into that area? How, does this compound that in some way?
Not many. Counted them on the way in, and I just forgot the number.
I would think that since it's right next to the school, there's gotta be
It's lit up like
considerable
noon.
amount of lighting.
You can literally sit out on my front porch and it's like noon at midnight, so there's plenty of light.
I just.
Well, I haven't driven there at night, so I don't know that I have an opinion on that. Anyone want to make a motion to put any time limitations on when the sign can run? Hearing none. That's scrapped. Anything else? All right. All right, so there won't be any restrictions placed on the variances? Any other new business?
No, there's no new business.
Any motion to close the meeting?
Move.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That'll conclude the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you all very much.
And we will have a.
Thank you for your time.